Good morning.
After you're done,
Good
your show
morning.
is done.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Feel pretty good. I'm really settling in on this PFP. I thought I was going to change it again. But boy, this little frog holding the Ethereum logo and giving you the three fingers.
Did you make that one?
I did. I haven't minted it yet. This is just for my own pleasure.
Golly, that was really fun for like 10 minutes.
Well, I don't think it's, as with any new medium, it's fun as a novel concept for a little bit. But I have noticed throughout the years that often there's something I can conceptualize that I really think would be a dope concept, but I'm not an artist in the visual illustrative sense. And this tool now affords me that because, I wanted a frog holding a glowing green Ethereum logo. And this looks dope to me. I don't intend to mint it and sell it. I don't think anyone else gives a shit, but I love it.
Yeah. Well, no, you're right about that. The DALL-E thing was awesome. It still is awesome. And there's a lot of other great ones out there too. I saw that they're actually maybe 10 years away from being able to translate brainwaves into images.
Right.
So now it's not. So now it's about how good your kind of wordsmithing is in directing an AI to create something for you and giving it kind of the framework.
Totally. Like sometimes
the next phase is just thinking it.
Right.
Visualize. Crazy, man. That is okay. So the first step is going to probably just be like 2D images, like what DALL-E puts out. I know that they're working on video and audio and all the deep fakes and stuff like that. But imagine that translating into 3D worlds.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to visualize a space. I mean, it's literally in Inception in a sense, right?
Yes, exactly.
Incredible.
All of my alts just started selling off at the same time. I hate crypto. I quit.
That's not what we're talking about.
Really, some algo is just like market sell everything.
Oh, show's live. He's not paying attention. Dumb.
To be fair, the stock market has come off a little bit too. And if you look at coins, they're pretty much tracking the S&P, but very muted, right? They're stuck in a range. When the S&P is going up, it moves towards the top of that range. When the S&P is going down, it moves towards the bottom, but crypto doesn't break out of the range. The S&P, on the other hand, has been what we say on Wall Street, strong. That is,
Well, it kind of double topped at 4,000. Like, do we break through today, or is it?
Well, again,
do we get a triple top? What's a triple top? That's bearish, right?
This is really not about what happens today or this week, right? You need to. Most people follow trends, right? They're not trying to pick a top and a bottom because we all know how difficult that is. But you're trying to follow trends, and it's like, how do you spot a trend and what keeps you in a trend? And if you look at, for example, the amount of shorts on the S&P 500 contract future, the amount of puts versus the amount of calls, which has actually flipped pretty dramatically in the last few weeks. But we're talking about a few weeks ago and even a month ago when you were trying to analyze, well, is this turn real? And then once we really seem to come off the bottom, is this trend something you should be buying into? And even now, we're coming to a short-term top somewhere between, if you made me bet, and again, this is short-term day traded. If you made me bet, I do think in the next few days, the S&P is going to get over that 40-50 high and make its way to what's called yearly VWAP, volume weighted average price.
Love my yearly VWAP.
Volume weighted average price is 4,150. The next volume shelf, in other words, the area where a lot of shares were traded, is 4,150. And the amount of confluence at that level does suggest it's going to break above and get there. Though, again, this is probably working up to be a short-term top somewhere in this range between 4,000 and 4,150. Though we had a nice little pullback yesterday that was aggressively bought. Why does this matter to you, the audience? Well, we have flipped to a risk-on environment. We've gone from a phase where you should be selling strength to a phase where you should be buying weakness. There's a lot of signals that confirm that. Nothing is 100%. Markets can change at any time, but there are quite a few signs that the trend you're seeing is legit because people were violently off sides and expecting things to get worse. And then not only did they start to get better, they've gotten even better than the most optimistic people expected. We knew PPI was going to come in lower. We didn't know it was going to be flat. Okay, prices didn't move. That is what if you look at the chart of inflation and prices, it actually looks like what we're experiencing right now is deflation. Now, of course, the year-over-year headline numbers still look terrible. When you go to the grocery store, it still feels bad. And no one is saying that things returned to where they were. But you're
Did you see
as
the price
a
of lettuce today?
bank,
Crazy.
yeah, but as a
That's
central bank or as a trader, when you're trying to predict where things are going, well, if you look at the recent trend in prices, we may be experiencing deflation. And if that starts to accelerate, it's a much more dangerous problem in the short term than inflation, which everybody has been freaking out about. So you have a bunch of people and funds and banks majorly offside. Data comes in even better than we expected. And look, the Fed came out yesterday in the Fed president, James Bullard, came out yesterday and was like, this changes nothing. We're still going to be okay. All the bearish things that you needed them to say to make this thing, and they still couldn't knock it off its track. It's still up. Okay. So I think the market has changed tone, and that is going to be important to crypto at some point. Right now, we are still mired in scandal and low liquidity and no orders on the books and nobody. It's a game of chicken right now. Who's going to flinch first? Are we going to make new lows, or are we going to rip back and fill the Sam Bankman-Fried gap up at 1550 or whatever? You lean towards up because of the macro backdrop. Now, if another crypto shoe falls and somebody we didn't expect goes out of business or had FTX, of course, we could take out the lows and all that. But we have turned decidedly risk on in macro markets, and that's going to matter to crypto at some point. It may even matter now. It may be why we are not seeing new lows.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually want to, we were just talking about something right before we went live on the show, and kind of in the same line of changing tones, right?
Yes.
You pointed out that, was it Art Chick on Twitter said, how about we all agree to not talk about crypto at Thanksgiving this year and blah, 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 because it kind of turned into a meme, right? A year ago, this time, crypto was at all-time highs, very exciting time. Everyone was talking about it, blah, blah, blah. I made this much, it's gone up this much, et cetera, et cetera. And you're going to tell your family about all this stuff. You got to buy it. You got to buy it. Why would you tell them to buy it at the top? Isn't this the perfect time to actually be talking about it? You're going to go back there. Everyone's going to go, so how about that crypto? I mean, if you still have conviction in it, I would rather be talking about it now than at its high, because I don't want people buying in at ETH at 5,000 when it just ramped up from, low 3 digits over the course of a year and a half, right? Like, when is the appropriate time to talk about it? Now is a good time to start saying, like, people are going to have questions about it. They know you talked about it last year. Oh, FTX, you knew it was all a scam. I'm like, well, no, crypto's not a scam. There are lots of scammers in it, but not unlike anything else in this world. And now it's at a pretty reasonable price to start dollar cost averaging in. We don't know if it's going to go from 1,200 down to 800 or 500, but it's a good time to start averaging in, because we know that it can go to 5,000. That right now, that's a 4x return. That's a great prospect. So it's kind of funny how we just have this mentality of like, not we, maybe not even the people in this audience, but the royal we, oh, it's so embarrassing to talk about. No, I would rather talk about it now to people that at the top, because everyone's like, should I buy now? And the answer is like, fuck no. Are you kidding me? Why would you buy the top? It just 400%ed in a year. And sure,
And
it could go up another 50% from there.
right. And look,
We all know what the aftermath is, and this happens every cycle. Down 80%, crypto dead, down 95% on altcoins, Bitcoin's down 75% from the highs. It happens every cycle. Even if you bought 2/3 of the way up, it will likely put you underwater at some point. What a great time to just, cozy people up to the conversation of like, yeah, it's happened tons of times. It's always bounced back.
it is the sentiment shift that you wanted. This is apathy, right? This is like we've gotten to the apathy stage. The thing is, apathy stages can last anywhere from 1 year to 10 years, right? That's the only debate left at this.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who, people like to make fun of people who bought the top. Well, anybody who bought the top is down so much, another $400 in ETH doesn't make a difference to them. Whereas anybody who bought $10, they're the ones who feel it more because like that's a
Right.
huge of your net worth to go from 1,200 ETH to 800 versus the guy who bought a few at 5,000, right? It's a completely different story. I will say this, okay? I think that the real interesting debate to me, and I know where I fall, but that doesn't mean I know what's going to happen. The interesting debate is how much did funny money contribute to $69,000 Bitcoin, right? Like, if you guys follow a very good trader, an account named Crypto Don Alt, you can go follow me as a duck as a profile picture. He is pretty well known within crypto.
You said go follow me. Is this your secret alt account that you accidentally?
I wish. He has a lot of followers. I wish it was. But if he made an announcement that he was going long Bitcoin yesterday, and he did a little calculation like he thinks it can go to 100K on the next cycle, and he may lose it all if it goes to zero. So that's a 5-to-1 risk reward. He's willing to at this point. He's willing to risk it here and doesn't mind if it goes down more because he sees a 5-to-1 expected return. Now, there are very good traders on the bull side and there are very good traders on the bear side. And the good bear traders came in and were like, haha, you fucking idiot. You think we got to 69K when money was free at 0%. We couldn't even get to 100K. And you think we're getting there on the next cycle? Are you out of your mind? And here is the good debate. How much did ZERP, 0% interest rates, contribute to the price of Bitcoin, ETH, and the crypto complex?
Well, and every other growth stock on the market too, right?
Everything. I mean, right. And I think that's
there was a
very,
huge incentive.
Very
there was actually an incentive for these companies to not turn a profit because money was free to them. We don't have to turn a profit. We can grow as much as we want and take out as much debt because it doesn't cost us anything.
Right. When money is 0%, you're not eliminating the price of it. You're eliminating the duration. That's what's more important. There's no time constraint on money. You can always borrow more at 0%, right? Like there is effectively no duration. And that allowed zombie companies, things that shouldn't have existed, to go on longer than they should. Probably go higher than they should. But at the same time, I don't think 0% interest rates quite had the it discounts the long-term bull case for these things, right? If 0% interest rates caused us to leave the general uptrend line and get too far above it that we had to crash back down to that line, does not negate the uptrend yet. And I guess the only key now is institutional adoption. All right. For crypto to take the next leg up, it cannot be through leverage. Okay. And that is largely what this last cycle was defined by. I am a not Michael Burry fan. I do not like Michael Burry, though he did tweet out a very good quote the other day that said, if you don't know how much leverage is in an industry, you don't know that industry at all. And that could mean that you are the best engineer, a great CEO, to take every other good quality you would want to see somebody who knows their shit. But if they don't understand how much leverage is in an industry, you know nothing. Okay. And we, up until now, have known nothing. Okay. If this is the bottom, now we know something. Okay. We know how much leverage was there. Now we can see what good is left. We can see what promising parts of blockchain have the ability to continue to grow. And finally, we need to see regulation so that institutions can be the next leg up. Look, we may have exhausted how far we can get as an unregulated underground casino built on funny money. Sure. But I don't even think we have scraped the surface of potential if institutions adopt this thing. So what this really is a bet for or against institutional adoption.
Well,
That's a fair debate.
I would also like to point out the fact that you're seeing all over the news. I'm just going to pull up Decrypt's newsfeed as, for instance, it is all like FTX collapse, marketing deals. This person's pulling out of FTX. This celebrity is getting sued. A lot of celebrities getting sued. It's all about FTX. Even on mainstream news, it's about FTX. The great thing is at this point, I think that the market and the media and all of this stuff is getting just savvy enough to understand that this is an FTX problem, not a crypto problem, because I don't see a lot of people saying we're not accepting crypto anymore. I don't see a lot of people saying we're pulling out of this. We're stopping all crypto investments. We're not integrating it anymore. The last 12 months on this show, all we talked about is such and such big company is moving into Web3 or crypto. Nike, Adidas, Gucci, these big companies opening up stuff in the metaverse. And, whether or not you buy into that, they are still all leaning towards it. The FTX collapse hasn't caused anybody that's been doing that to all of a sudden stop their involvement in crypto. It's just cutting off FTX. And provided everything else is staying relatively stable, Binance has its shit together, Coinbase has its shit together, everybody else is realizing that, you got to make sure that the books are all in line, Kraken, Gemini, all of that stuff. This very well be like the bad news bottom. I don't want to say it's the price bottom, but how much worse can it actually get? And as you've pointed out so many times on this show, the price is still actually pretty good. Right?
Yeah.
You would have thought it would have been way lower if all of this stuff had gone down. So how much more bad news is it going to take to beat this down? I just truly am starting to get the picture that anybody that wanted to sell would have done so already.
I actually think this is the price bottom, but that's not what concerns me at this
point.
Because
the only reason I won't say this is because I do think I wouldn't say that is just personally because if this has kind of kicked us off into a multi-year bear, which that I could see, I do think that it could bleed out slowly, but I just don't think that you're going to see a mad dash to like the bottom anymore.
Right. And I do think a price bottom is in. I just don't know what breaks crypto out of a range to the upside. Again, macro tailwinds, I do expect to be pretty strong for 4 months, which can take crypto to the upper part of that range. What are we talking?
Macro tailwinds were strong while crypto was in its bear market too, though, right?
I would say 24K on Bitcoin, 1,800 to 2K on ETH, and certainly those little fun stories, if they do turn out bullish, whether it be Matic or XRP or Apto, whatever, can certainly work within that time frame. But this is going to be about duration going forward. How many people get bored? That's going to be interesting to see. If, as some funds are predicting, that 2023 is the year of crypto regulation, we could get a bull market as soon as 2024, right? But I do think we are waiting on that. That may be a little optimistic for
$10,000 on XRP. Thank you.
you will never see me again.
What, $10,000 XRP?
Yep. I'll be rich enough to disappear.
Well, yeah, I mean, that might be a long shot, but yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
GM, I guess we'll do like some sort of pseudo intro now. 25 minutes into the show. Let's dig right in. Episode 166. I apologize about Wednesday. I had some parental duties that came up at the last minute. I don't love missing shows, but sometimes these are the priorities we have to do. So, I also think it's fair to say that whatever we would have talked about on Wednesday, we're probably just going to talk about now. The media cycle is still all FTX. All of the things coming out of it, whether it's exciting you or entertaining you or frustrating you, pissing you off, or you're just straight up getting bored about it, it is still mostly all that's happening. We're going to have some Valhalla news. Pretty big Bored Ape sale yesterday. And yeah, we're just gonna, just pull some stuff up on a Friday morning and just talk about it. Right now, the price of Bitcoin is at $16,700, slightly up on the day. Ethereum $1,214, again slightly up on the day, slightly down on the week. We kind of just seem to be range bound between 1150 and like 1280 on ETH. And I think that given what we've gone through in the past 10 days, that's pretty bullish. I'm pretty happy to be there. And I think in the absence of any more like really, really bad news, which is hard to see coming, but also we didn't see the FTX thing coming. I think we're in a pretty good spot right now. This is a point where if I'm putting outside money into the ecosystem, I'm pretty happy to start dollar cost averaging in here and potentially doing it for the next, 2 or 3 years. Like I don't know what's that.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I don't know how long a crypto bear market lasts for. It could extend beyond just a bullish kind of stock market and economy. We've seen it happen in the past, but it all just kind of depends on where we're going there. Some kind of not great news in the Ukraine situation with Poland, a missile hitting Poland, but it seems to be that was a very just incidental and not intentional. But yeah, we are where we are right now. I don't know. You have anything else you want to add on to that?
Basically, right now you have a very, very low liquidity order book, and there's a bit of a game of chicken. Nobody wants to be the first to go because anybody with a real stack is going to move price a lot in either direction if they start to get aggressive here now that Alameda has disappeared from the order book. That is playing into this idea that you never short a dull market, right? The longer something is boring, the more chance that the next move is going to be up. Now, this can be applied to lower time frames, but it's not as accurate. I actually contend here, the longer that we crab, the more bearish it becomes because
oh really? Because I was just about to say I would be more bullish. Okay, hit me.
And I'll only say short term, and the reason is because eventually the S&P is going to hit a top. Okay, it's probably going to be around 4150. All right, but once the S&P finds a local top, we're going to be in a general risk off moment for a week or two. Right? Unless crypto wants to do the old, flip correlation and be bullish when markets are bearish, I could see us crabbing too long. Everybody saying the same thing we're thinking, like, oh, it hasn't collapsed. It must be that the next direction is up. It must be. Then the S&P collapses 200 points and coins have one last flush before actually turning up, getting bullish, closing the SBF gap. So I encourage coins to start moving their ass here because the longer that they wait, the more chance you're going to run into a risk-off macro condition. And I don't think it'll last long. Like my thought is that we're going to have a week early December, early mid-December. But we'll see. It's like I said, people have been very offsides in the stock market, and it's hard to say where exactly they stop unwinding that bearish bias here. So I encourage coins to move their ass quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, no. What I was going to say about the sideways thing, and I think the difference between our opinions was you were saying short term, and I was thinking more like a year or two term. Is that when it goes sideways and you haven't had like a huge flush down, you can get a little bit of volatility in that, but it generally stays in a very tight range over a long period of time. I mean, the biggest question is, why hasn't it dumped to zero? If something's dead, like we saw Terra Luna when it collapsed, I mean, it collapsed. It went from, insane highs down to, fractions of a fraction of a penny. Like it went basically to zero. Um, these things, if they, we saw it from 2018 to 2020, right? Like ETH was still held above $120 for a long time. Bitcoin was down to maybe 3,000, $4,000, and they stayed there for an extended period of time. But you got to ask, like, when it's doing that for years on end, if it was really dead, if there wasn't stuff going on, or if there wasn't people accumulating and buying throughout that whole time, it would have just gone to zero. But you got to be able to kind of just outlast that, be very patient, because if you did put it in there, all of that time you were watching the stock market and Tesla and all these crazy companies just go up and up and up, you were sitting there going, fuck, my crypto bags are just sitting here carrying me down. But if you were patient and you held through all that time, those gains that you hit in 2021 were more substantial over that two or 3 year period than almost any other S&P company, right? Or a stock that you could have
Yes.
picked.
Now,
And is that is the hedge against inflation. That is the real play, right? It's being able to outlast this market and position yourself during these multi-year crabs, and then waiting in for that, 6 to 12 months of just pure fun, pure pandemonium. Eventually the market will mature, things will slow down, the volatility overall will drop dramatically, and I'm sure there will still be volatile parts of the market, like NFTs probably still have a long way to go until they get more mature and stop being as volatile. But they're also a very illiquid asset, which can make them more volatile. So there's still going to be tons of opportunity to make money with this. But I mean, if you are not a trader that is executing at a high level during these range bound markets, it's great to just buy and hold. That's what I'm doing. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't use leverage, which I wish I could. I don't trade very well. I wish I could, but I do all right every time. I just buy and hold. So I'm going to stick with what works for me.
yeah, I think that you're probably going to see one last scam pump if we do go into a multi-year bear, because you're going to see that in the stock market as well here over
Yep.
the next 4 months. So I think you would get one last one of those, and then if we crash back down at 1,500, I could see us going sideways at 1,500 for a while. But we are very data dependent right now. It sounds simple and stupid in the sense that shouldn't we always be data dependent? But once a
No,
trend
we
is
get
confirmed,
emotional.
well, no, but once a trend is confirmed, like an uptrend, no, you shouldn't be data dependent, because you're going to get aberrations. You're going to get random reports that come in weird, maybe even 2 or 3 reports in a row that come in a weird sense. But if you've confirmed a trend, you don't panic out of your account. And the same the other way, right? Then there are moments where you've seen an absolute change in temperament. Okay, this is undeniable that markets have changed temperament. Now we have to be very aware of what the data is, because if the data continue to come in even, but look, no one knows the future. We're only we're making high probability guesses, but nobody knows the future. And if data continued to shock to the upside, this thing could fucking V. We have no idea. We have no clue.
No.
I mean, I have always contended that 0% interest rates don't create fake growth. They allow companies that shouldn't exist to continue to exist longer. Companies that actually experience growth, they were making real money. That wasn't fake money. They were selling goods and services that people paid them for, and that wasn't propped up. Sure, you can look at a bunch of Kathy stocks and companies that were zombies, that were alive, that shouldn't have been alive, and all that stuff. That's what 0%
So
support.
did Zer allow Twitter to exist for longer than it should have?
Possibly. I mean, it was losing $4 million a day, and that could only be sustained for so long. If it didn't change its business model, it likely would have gone out of business. So maybe 0% interest rates were supporting something like that, but people act like it created false growth where there wasn't. I contend we could easily grow very well at 2 or 3% interest rates. And yes, the bond market unwind this year has been violent because it was a massive bubble. The real bubble has been in bonds this year. Like, I love how traditional finance is making you think crypto was the one out of line and, oh, they were the ones that all the leverage had to be blown. Bonds are down more this year than they have ever been in history. This is just another fucking Wednesday for crypto. Jesus Christ, this happens every other week. This is nothing. This is the worst year in the history of bonds, okay? And that is because central banks around the world artificially depressed interest rates and inflated the price of bonds, all right? That has now unwound, but it has gotten too far ahead of itself. As interest rates settle in to 3 and 2% at some point next year because the Fed realizes, oh shit, we went too far. Now we're facing deflation. Recession's getting worse than we thought. We better lower rates. They'll settle in around 2 to 3%. And like, we can grow fine. We'll do great. Good companies that were responsible for the majority of our growth anyway are going to continue to do great things and make money. And out of all this timber, other great ideas that were able to swap up all that misallocated capital in places are going to be able to use it for good ideas. This was not the popping of the everything bubble. This was a insane reversion in bonds and therefore interest rates, coupled with transitory inflation, a perfect storm of nonsense, but a blip on the radar. The bull market will resume. It's a better question for coins because if regulation did not come, no, I don't think we could get back to the old highs just with the old unregulated casino leverage, all that shit. Talking about spot ETH and Bitcoin and your larger protocols. Will there be mini bull markets, shitcoin bull markets in between? Sure. But I think for us to get to new all-time highs, we need that institutional buying, and that is only going to come with regulation.
You do for sure. I mean, you're going to hit these peaks where like $2 trillion a market cap, like how much inflow it actually takes to continue to move that. It's not, going from, a half of 500 billion to 1 trillion is not the same as going from 1 trillion to 2 trillion or 2 trillion to 4 trillion. I know that like that's called exponential growth, but like the amount of energy that it would take to double it over and over again gets higher and higher. And then you start to have those diminishing returns into the point where it actually becomes a mature market. But you do need the big players and like the everyday Joe Schmo. If all 7-8 billion people all put in $10, like it would move it. Like it's not even going to make a dent compared to what BlackRock could make by itself, what these big funds could make by themselves, what these big companies putting it on their balance sheets could move the market. It was, Kathy Woods basically said if the entire S&P allocated 1% of their balance sheets to either their balance sheets or their market caps to Bitcoin, Bitcoin would overnight be at $500,000 a coin. That's just 1% of just the S&P, right? Like that is huge movement and huge numbers, but you don't get that without the institutional investment. So, everybody right now being like, oh, regulators are going to screw us, especially after SBF, and he sat up there lying to them, all that. Maybe they'll be a little bit more heavy-handed than if this hadn't happened. But again, the narrative seems to be SBF bad, crypto not as bad, right? Maybe not right now as crypto is amazing. Doesn't seem to be the narrative. A lot of people don't seem to think so. But again, the blame doesn't seem to be on that. It seems to be on this, this guy who just mismanaged a fuck ton of money. But the regulation maybe be more heavy-handed. But I don't think that they can just say like we're banning it. It's never going to happen. It's all dead. This industry is dying. And it's going to be a good thing when it actually happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the end,
as long as you don't
really,
do it like fuck.
Well, no, and I just think in the end, Bitcoin is digital gold and ETH is the world's supercomputer. And the longer they don't die, the more that companies and funds and banks will be compelled to have these things on their balance sheets. And your average person will not interface with these things directly, right? Big banks will be custodians for them, and portions of pensions, portions of mutual funds, all that type of stuff is going to go in, and you'll never have touched it. But they need official regulated products that banks can trade between each other and give exposure to their clients with. Self custody is going to be for a very small amount of people, and depending on where you live, they're going to make self custody harder and harder. You can bet your bottom dollar. So,
Yeah.
it all depends on your mind frame. Don't be married to any one thing. Every paradigm always changes. I mean, you look at Jesse Livermore, who we've talked about a few times on this show, and in the later part of his life, he couldn't make any money. And he couldn't make any money because they changed the stock market rules. They changed them to rules today we would consider quote unquote fair. You could say a lot of the way that he made his money was illegal, and that wasn't even how could that last? It's very much like what you're seeing in crypto now. The game always changes, but you can't be married to your ways, because there's always going to be a way to take advantage of the asymmetries that show up in markets. Professors will tell you you cannot trade markets because they are efficient. You go to any business school, Wharton, you go learn about, they tell you markets are efficient. Trading is a pipe dream. Most people lose, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. Well, the reason markets are efficient is because of traders. It's because of the liquidity they provide, that constant ability to discover price. That's why markets are efficient. And there are always going to be ways to take advantage of that. Just next time, it's going to look very regulated. And we are yet to see how that exactly unfolds. There'll probably still be 1,000Xs, though there'll be less of them. And it'll be much more about great ideas than marketing, right? It's a lot of what.
There's been plenty of 100Xs on the stocks like over the past 5-10 years too, right? Like it's not like it doesn't exist or you don't have access to it.
Right. But, alpha is not easy to find. It's not easy to find in the stock market. And it's going to become harder to find in coins when it's not just all about social media marketing and making number go up. But a lot of great lessons could be drawn from the stock market. And, if you take my co-host's approach and just buy and hold, that's going to be a great strategy, because it doesn't really matter. Right? These institutions will pump your price once they adopt it. And that's really the bottom line here. So we can get to 100, 200, 500K Bitcoin and 10, 20, 50, $100,000 ETH as these institutions adopt it. Just like I said, understand self-custody will become harder and harder if you live in a more developed place. And it's going to come largely through regulation, which is going to take away a lot of the unregulated casino you enjoy today.
Yeah. One thing I'm not married to at all, and I haven't actually owned any of this, but Solana is one of those things that after we had that discussion, remember we were talking about Neo on the show last week, I think?
Yep.
And, I mentioned that was a top 10. I'm getting such shades of Neo from Solana now where it's just like, yeah, okay, it was an L1 that was supposed to be the Ethereum killer, got super hyped, blah, blah, blah. If this domino falls this way, Solana and the development on it. I'm really I really started to get vibes of that from Solana now. And then watching the price action kind of fall from, the $260, $270 that it was at down to 13. Solana is one of those ones now that I don't know if it ever gets back to its all-time high.
I appreciate that vibe, because I am long Solana right now.
Not saying it can't go up, but again, Neo hit $200 in the bull run of in 2018, and then in 2021 it only hit, I think, 120 as its top, right? Like it received the lift that everyone else did, but it did not do it to the same extent, which is what a lot of those altcoins did. And it's what happened in a lot of the, the .com bubble. All of these companies went bankrupt or way down, and they never got back to the highs that they were at. And then there were a few that weathered the storm and just became many orders of magnitude bigger than they ever were during that, like an Amazon and some of those other companies, right? So it's all just about picking some of the more long-term ones. And I've just all of a sudden felt like Solana is not one of them.
Solana's next top will be 33% less than its last top. And then the next top after that will be 33% less than its previous top.
Yeah.
And
it didn't seem to kind of, carve out enough of its own market to justify it. All of the development is still on ETH. Although I have heard that the developer community has been strong in like this like underdog kind of way on Solana. But I just think that, if we go through a brutal bear market, it's going to just kind of shrivel up and it's all going to kind of migrate towards ETH where the action is anyways. Like you need that, like a community going from 1,000 people down to 10 people is a lot harder to recover from than a community going from 1 million people down to, 10,000 people. Right.
Right. It will never get back to all-time highs, but it'll be a great trading vehicle for people who want to trade it. So.
Yeah. Where did we leave off with FTX? I mean, I don't know how much more there is to talk about this than it hasn't been already just kind of blasted on Twitter over the last week. A couple of notable kind of interesting things that I found was just the new CEO, John J. Ray, who has been brought in to kind of sort out the mess and restructure it, called it kind of the worst mismanagement of a company he's ever seen. And this is somebody that dealt with Enron. But I mean, are you going to ever say anything else? You're kind of just riding the engagement wave himself, right? Like, what is he going to do? Go in there and say, it's not that bad. I've seen worse.
No, this is a stupid story of a stupid company that nobody understands and everybody thinks they know and everybody thinks they understand. Yet I would venture to guess that 99.9% of the people commenting on the FTX drama don't have the IQ of anybody who ran that company. Maybe that means something, maybe it doesn't. But
that doesn't also mean that they're good at running a company.
I guess not. At the same time, I don't know if anybody else commenting is good at running a company either because they didn't do it. So I am going to sit back and wait for the actual facts to come out, instead of these blockchain detectives thinking they can decipher what's going on with anonymous addresses linked to this thing that was first funded by this thing. And okay, good, whatever. I think the money is there. I don't know where it is. I think it's there. And I think that this whole thing is overblown nonsense, only in the sense of the amount that it's dominating news flow. Now, I understand why. And it's because this isn't traditional people who were betrayed. This is the insiders, the crypto-illuminati, the biggest stars of crypto Twitter, the best shows. Everybody was sponsored and loved, the best celebrity. This is them who are scorned and hurt, which is why they're lashing out like a betrayed lover. You know what I mean? Whereas mainstream media, who's taking a rational look at this, is being lambasted because they're not jumping on with the pitchforks you couldn't believe that crypto Twitter went from hating mainstream media for always giving crypto a bad shake to yelling at mainstream media for not being harder on
That's a good point.
What the fuck is going on right now? This is the stupidest story I've ever heard. We're going to find out why prices haven't gone to zero yet, and it's because this is a stupid story. Everyone who had an FTX account is going to be made whole. Just sit tight. Do not worry. Good things are coming. Fuck this story.
The more distance we put into all of the madness and whatnot, the more I'm just getting the sense that, like, okay, sure, they did a lot of illegal stuff.
I love that. Oh, sure, they did a lot of illegal stuff, but
the more I'm leaning towards less like criminal intent and more just complete incompetence. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not excusing them. I'm not saying that it was a good way to run the company, but the more that comes out, the more it just feels like all of these people that were in that penthouse in the Bahamas running this company just really had no idea what they were supposed to be doing with all of this money, and therefore were just doing anything and everything they wanted with it. And then one day CZ kind of gave them some shit, and they started looking at it and realized that it's all just a house of cards, because they were keeping no checks and balances, their record keeping, no best practices, no adults in the room making sure that they were being responsible with anything that they were doing. And I think that the royal crypto, are mad about it now, because we were the ones that chose to trust them. And, it goes against the ethos of this whole kind of space. Don't trust, verify. And nobody verified. We were all just like, yes, FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, no idea where he came from, no idea why he got this big, but he's talking the right game, and we like the cut of his jib, and like, now I think there's just this betrayal in the sense that, we fucked up because we trusted too easily, right? And I don't think that the shakedown of this is going to be a bad thing, but the further we get from it, the less that I can buy into he's a government plant and all of these conspiracy theories.
Oh, really? You can't buy into that, R2? Pull up the tweet I just sent to you.
No.
In the DMs.
Now, am I just
Go
gonna
right up and zoom in for all our listeners? Take our beautiful mugs off the screen.
Hold on. Where are we here? Where's my feed? There we go.
Tweeted out April 15th by Sam. These were the speakers at his conference. That would be Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of England, Tom Brady, former Prime Minister of New England, President Bill Clinton, former president of the Clintons, and the Honorable Philip Davis. I have no idea who that is, but I'm sure he's very important.
He was the 5th Prime Minister of the Bahamas.
Oh,
it says it right there.
There it is, everybody. Yeah. There it is.
No idea who that guy is.
Definitely not a government plant. Very not well connected. It's all above.
Oh, well connected. Just, affords you opportunities to get there a lot easier than other people did. Can you actually look at this whole thing and think that he was a government plant and this whole thing is a conspiracy theory to make crypto look bad?
If it is, I applaud the government. It was a fucking brilliant plan, because I don't think Sam was in on it. I think they made him think he was doing all these things successfully. Like, he's a patsy. He's the Manchurian candidate, okay? He has no idea what's going on here. I'm pretty sure the money was there.
They were just like, you're going to get a lot of money. Do whatever you want with it. And they don't even have to.
Yeah. I bet Carolyn is a CIA plant. I would bet anything that money was not lost.
You're getting the people going. No,
I would bet money right now that Carolyn is a CIA plant and that the money is not lost. It was taken by the CIA. And that's as simple as it gets. That's why Sam is confused, doesn't know what's going on. He's been lied to. This is our baby boy here, and you guys are throwing him right. This is our beautiful cucumber eating baby boy. Okay? And you're throwing him right under the bus with all these people. It's incredible. You guys will flip flop on a dime just with a little bit of blockchain evidence. It's incredible.
Trending hashtag SBF did nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong. No. And now, again, this is all a CIA operation, and he is the fall guy now for this, which is why he's in a dangerous position. Bahamas don't know what to do.
I want to give a disclaimer that you're joking, but I don't even know if you are.
I'm not joking. Why should I joke? I'll speculate anything I want.
Everybody else
not?
Is. Yeah,
what else makes sense here?
Right.
Did you know that Carolyn's father is the professor of economics at MIT?
Yeah, and that Gary Gensler worked for him. Whatever. Okay, but that's my thing, is that it doesn't seem unrealistic for people to be well connected that get like a good boost or a good leg up. Like, that happens all of the time.
Do you know where the CIA does most of their recruiting? Ivy League colleges.
Yes. I don't know. Just fucking can't get there,
God
man.
damn
Can't get
you,
there.
FMC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're putting me on the spot because I wasn't expecting you to take that side, right? Now I'm reeling.
Well, because now I found an angle that a lot of other people don't have. I can't go with the comment, "Oh, he's a Democrat plant, and this is just all so the pedo elites can build their new island."
Oh, okay.
Fuck this moronic, like he knows he's the plant, and this was all, blah blah blah. He's a patsy. He was used by government agencies. Not he is
Yeah.
not the evil. He's not some evil genius that concocted this. He is just a patsy.
Nah, not getting there, man.
Cool.
Who is I also saw this. Who is Shillin Villain? I knew that name, and now they're banned on Twitter. What's going on there?
He is a Twitter host backed by VCs. Very much reminds me of, who was that guy? Oh, Shiny. You remember Oh Shiny, who was doing
Oh,
a show
yeah.
on Twitter for a while?
Yeah.
He feels like that, except it was slightly more on the ground viral marketing. Like Oh Shiny had this polished, well-known type of show. Shillin' Villain was like, I'm just one of the boys and I'm starting spaces and da-da-da. But it seems that he botted most of his following. He's backed by VCs. And he seemed to be very good at his job. His spaces were entertaining. Even if they were botted to get people to initially look, he was obviously good at what he did. I guess some criticisms that were leveled were he doesn't own a lot of NFTs. He's not really one of us. He's a VC plant. Like, I guess those were the criticisms.
We're really just going down the.
Right.
Everyone's out to get us now. We've
Right.
gone from trusting too freely to just like we're the Spider-Man meme where there's like 8 of them and they're all pointing at each other.
Well, because his PFP is like a Solana project that doesn't have a big floor or a big, like, he's not. He didn't leverage a following because he owned a Bored Ape or something like that. He's this guy that was supposedly like just one of the guys that ascended the stratosphere to become one of the biggest influencers in the game. But that's pretty much all I know. I have no idea why he was suspended. I've never listened to one of his spaces. He's irrelevant to me, as is NFT Twitter. I think most of it, again, it's just a hangover from a bull market. It's a lot of high school type of bullshit, and there's nothing of value in NFT Twitter, even in the least at this point.
To bring this back to FTX very, very briefly, I do think that is going to be one of the big knock-on effects of all of this, is that I think by next week, if it hasn't already started happening already, if nothing bigger comes out, I think that there's going to be a big kind of just content hangover where everyone is just exhausted from being glued to the Twitter feed, being glued to the screen, looking for answers, making hot takes. Like, I think everybody is just going to be tired, and I think things are going to get pretty quiet for the next 2 weeks after that, in conjunction with Thanksgiving too, right? Like, it just seems to be all lining up for a pretty quiet time. We've seen it time and time again, right?
Yeah, I think the best chance for some action is going to be during airdrop season in January. Plus, we'll probably have some high profile mints like Ether coming up. So
Ether just announcing that they're going to be holding out to next year. Sorry,
next year,
2023. So it's good to at least get a sense of when that's going to be going down.
Though I'll tell you, during the bull market, it was not good to kick the can on your hype train because, again, you were trying to capture a moment. Here, it may not be so bad, but you never like to see delays. It just hurts you. Like, look at Meme Land, look at KPR, and look at Valhalla. Which
I don't want to look at KPR.
Right. Well, it's just this is the danger of not just boom, hitting your hype train when you have it. Now, of course, it's under the excuse of we're a real project. We don't care about floor price. We're trying to put out a good product. We're not trying to play the hype trade. Look, we get all that. I know most good projects take that tact. But if we're talking about as NFT traders who watch this show, every day I have less and less confidence about Meme Land and Valhalla, which were two of my, two, not mine, but the entire NFT industry's most anticipated mints coming up. You get nervous about these delays. Now, Valhalla, we'll talk about now, mints next week. There seems to be a secondary market for whitelist spots going at around 1.5 ETH
Yeah,
right
which is
now.
pretty bullish. I mean, you get 2 mints out of that, so you
Yep.
gotta kind of break that into half, but it seems like each mint, you're gonna be able to mint for point 0.5 if you're the Allegiant roll, and if you're the Immortal roll, you're gonna be able to mint for 0.35. That's each per NFT. And with the allow lists being sold on like a secondary market for 1.5. Okay, so the price baked in seems to be 0.75. We know what happened with art gobblers. It was, I think, one mint was being sold for about 3.5 ETH on the secondary. I'm quoting for the allow list that opened at 12 ETH. A lot of different dynamics, though. I wouldn't be basing any kind of price action on what happened with art gobblers and the kind of
Not at all. I haven't seen
preconceived. We're in an entirely different market. It's a 10K collection. I think it was Dirty Milk said it best with Art Gobblers. It was like, all of those crazy fucking mints that happened over the past year, and everybody's in the Discord being like, don't list for less than 2 ETH, you undercutting scum. Like, Art Gobblers felt like it was just like a Discord of just enough people that they all agreed that this thing was opening at 12. And I'm not saying that that's actually what happened, but because it was such a low supply, I think it was pretty easy for it to hit that stride. And it was really hyped, but
no, but see, that's the key because
we're in an entirely different market.
it was
Yeah.
talked about on Twitter and in Web2 media publications. I haven't seen Valhalla talked about at all, except from their own accounts. And same thing with Meme Land. It's like if I don't see Twitter and mainstream hype, I have no confidence in a cook here. I think your best chance is it's something like that Gangster All Stars thing where like you mint it for 0.5, it goes up to 0.6, 0.7 for like the first 24 hours. Then it crashes to 0.3. It stays there for a week or two, and then it finally gets a ramp to like 1 ETH after everybody forgot about it. And then it just dies for the
Yeah.
next 6 months or a year. That is my best guess as to
I
what
don't
happened with Valhalla. And it really
well,
just comes down to the amount of hype these things have generated outside of alpha rooms, and it's none.
there seems to be a little bit of confusion about what's going on with Valhalla too. Obviously, they're building the streaming platform, but that is their company Stacked that is building that and raised all the VC money. So they raised $15 million in VC funds. Now they're doing a 10K PFP collection that they're charging 0.5 ETH for each, so 5,000 ETH. There's a lot of question of like, why are you raising another $5 million on top of that from your apparent customers or community members, as you want to call them? And now it seems to be pointing that like, yeah, Stacked is doing the streaming platform. Valhalla is kind of a secondary company that's owned by Stack, but Valhalla isn't actually NFTs that have to do with the streaming platform. And now I think people are getting a little bit squirrely about what that actually means for the Valhalla NFTs. And they're saying, is this some kind of utility NFT that's based on the streaming platform, or is it just a PFP project that you guys are hoping that the hype from the streaming platform kind of spills over into the PFPs? And I've switched from like really bullish on what they're trying to build um in regards to Valhalla to not being entirely sure now, because I do think that there's a market and an appetite for another streaming platform competitor that is more Web3 native. They have a lot of work to do, and it's going to be a huge uphill battle to try and get into these moats that YouTube and Twitch have kind of secured. We've seen Microsoft try and do it with Mixer, and that just didn't last. We've seen some other ones take a stab at it, but maybe there's a Web3 appetite for it. But I was very excited for Valhalla, the NFT, to have a large part in that. And now I'm not sure where the divide actually comes from.
I'm glad everyone is finally confused. Some of us have been confused from the beginning. Ha!
I wouldn't find myself confused if they were saying Valhalla is the utility token of the
If
stacked
ifs and
platform or
buts were
whatever.
candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. You're confused. Bottom line,
I
everyone
am
is
now.
confused. Okay, this is been a confusing project since the beginning. I have no idea what I'm minting, and I just think this, when you do not have hype on Twitter, you are not going to get a cook in this bear market, period. Unless I see those high school kids who are on Spaces every day talking about Valhalla, there ain't going to be a cook.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're also, again, like, as you said, precarious market, right? Like the attention is being dominated by FTX, SBF, all of this stuff going on. And it's gonna be hard, but it's going down
The
next week.
scariest thing I saw was when people were allowed to mint two. Okay, that was number one. That was scary. Like the fact that they're letting people mint two. The hypest projects only let people mint one because there's just such insane demand. What?
Well, didn't Azuki allow you to mint two? Weren't there a couple of big ones?
I don't remember, but we're talking about now.
True.
You're not allowed to.
Well,
mint
no, that's a good point too, because in this huge kind of mega thread that he put out, or they put out, kind of outlining the details of it, the one thing that kind of didn't sit super well with me was this comparison to, they called them their peers of established projects. I'm just going to pull it up right now. Did you look through this thread at all? Okay. So here it is. So they do the Valhalla mint price. And so in announcing the mint price, they also preemptively put out a justification for why they had to do a 0.5 mint price, which, I mean, some people will maybe say great transparency, and then others will say, like, it feels weird that you're justifying the mint price. Like, Mercedes doesn't put out, we're selling this car for $80,000 because this car sells for 100,000, or, you know, the product normally speaks for itself, but they basically just put out a ETH comparison. Well, Valhalla, we're minting for 0.5. Well, Azuki was 1, PXN was 2, and CloneX was 3.
Yeah,
I didn't need that justification.
Yeah.
And you're also comparing yourself to projects that already minted and in hindsight have gone to above 20 ETH. I just don't think you need to do that.
Nobody in the car industry is questioning why Mercedes is charging people for the car. People are like, oh yeah, they made a
free market. Where'd you go? Did I get rugged or did you get rugged? If anybody is in chat right now, let me know. I guess I could refresh a page and see. Yeah. Okay, so it is FMC. I don't even know if he knows he got rugged. He was about to go on a good tangent there, too. Hold on. Yo, what's going on, Raji? Yeah, I don't want to steal his point away from him, but I think it was relatively the same as what I was making. And it was just, you know, I have a hard time wrapping my head around. Oh, are you back? Hello there.
Yeah, so I think that this is just.
I don't know where you got rugged, but the last thing I heard you was about to get into Mercedes. Nobody in the car industry talks about Mercedes setting a price.
Because this is a perfect example of this industry is full of a bunch of bitchy ass people who think that everything should be free. I shouldn't have to pay for anything in NFT. It's like these people made a fucking product and they're charging you for it. Shut your goddamn mouths and mint it or don't. Like the idea that they have to justify the price they're selling you. NFTs should not be free. They should cost something. It's a dumb meta to begin with. This is so stupid on both sides, but I understand why they're doing it, because this is the only place where you'll get fucking spammed in your Discord because you decided to charge for the product you've been working on 6 months. Fucking NFTs. Go to zero.
You know what? That kind of makes sense too, actually, when you frame it like that, where it's you're going to get lambasted one way or another for what you've set the price at, and you might as well just get it out of the way of showing like what other. I think you could have done it in a better way than like comparing it to these other projects that have long since minted into a different market and have in Azuki and Clonex's case pretty naturally reached over a 20 ETH floor. Maybe some more transparency about where the funds are going to or what they're going to use. Like if they felt the need to justify it, could have happened that way. But and Dickens is saying 0.5 is crazy. I just don't think it is, honestly. Like they have the hype for it. We all knew it was going to mint out. They showed the hype at 0.25 for the pre-sale that 16,000 of these things were bid on. And I think it's one of those take it or leave it things. If you're on the allow list and you got on, there's no one is putting a gun to your head saying you have to mint it. That's the biggest thing. And that's the one thing that I think everybody always forgets is like, now you're going to make me pay 1 ETH to mint my 2. Like nobody's making you do anything.
The mob has decided you made enough money on the pre-sale. Fuck off.
Your justification of the price should be in the sauce, baby. Yeah, for sure.
No, for real. Like this, it's just ridiculous to me that people have like this, aversion to projects to say, look, the whole, okay, I've been bearish enough on Valhalla. I'm gonna mint this thing. I better say something good about it, right? So you have 100, what is there? They have like a crazy amount of followers on Twitter, 160,000 or something like that. It's
Valhalla?
facing, yeah, right? Isn't it a big 70,000, right? They have a huge amount
27.
They have a huge amount of demand in the Discord. Everybody has wanted to get that application. So there are likely much more people who wanted to get the application than didn't, right? So there's going to be 5,000 of us minting the pre-sale, okay? Hopefully there's 10 or 20,000 people who want these things, right? That's right. Really that. Yeah. And given the amount of VC interest, the hype, the da-da-da, maybe they have that kind of demand. I will contend in this bear market, I am very skeptical of any type of cook unless you have mainstream Twitter hype. So we'll see.
Yeah. Raji saying it can't be free and sustainable. I don't necessarily agree with that if there's like, a venture-backed company that has some kind of proven track record and ability to generate revenue on top of that. Pardon me, sorry. Like I think when you look at something like Digidaigaku, love them or hate them, and it seems like a lot of people hate them, but they have huge VC funding, and it's easy to say like you don't need to raise money through your NFT sales to survive when you have that much money. But they're also building a game. And I think that we know that if you can reach a broad, large scale audience with like outside of crypto, if you can get, 1 million people playing your game, 2 million monthly active users, 5 million monthly active users, you can monetize the shit out of that. And it doesn't have to be solely Web3 or solely token gated. And I think that the free mint that they did and kind of the marketing behind it was a good start to that flywheel. But again, it comes with the fact that they raised a lot of venture money. They do have a runway. They do have the means to actually hire people and pay people properly to produce a product. And this is what Valhalla did too. But, the difference between Valhalla and Digi was that Valhalla is charging 0.5 for their mint. But I like it. I mean, I agree with free market. I do think that there should be some skin in the game. It can't just be no risk, high reward forever. Like you're going to find a couple that were huge, absolutely huge cooks like Digidaigaku. It was a free mint. And if you found it and you got in on it and you held, especially to the 15 ETH peak, like you made absolute bank on it. But that can't just be the case for everything that happens, right? It's got to be very
X2Y2 decided to kill the free mint meta because if people can choose to not pay any royalties, what's the point of a free mint meta?
True. Yeah. Oh, the royalty debate. I don't know. I don't want to talk about that right now. All right, we got 15 minutes left. Bored Ape getting some volume, but nice 600 ETH sale on the Trippy one. Man, that feels like buying low right now. With the if you have liquidity, owned by nobody.eth, that's a big collector too. But if you have that extra liquidity, that's, as you pointed out in the pre-show, $700,000, maybe slightly above what the floor price was just a few months ago.
Yeah,
So, and
pretty
this
good
is a
price
this is a
in
grail ape.
USD. Terrible price in ETH. So when this is certainly certainly a welcome purchase, as Bored Apes were on a pretty big downtrend in both the narrative and the price. And this seems to have slowed it. I believe they've bounced a good 20% since this sale. They were at 52 or 53 yesterday. Now they're at 63. So certainly helped put a stop to the bleeding short term. I assume a lot of people who are liquid and admire these things are putting in offers on ones that they like, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stop the downtrend for good. I think while people were celebrating how little NFTs had to do with FTX, if you think about anybody who is stuck there, anybody who used outside custodians for their money, the only place they probably had self-custody was NFTs. It's probably the only place right now they can go for easy liquid, even if that liquid is at a crazy discount to what they expected or could have gotten not so long ago, or not so long in the future, depending on how you think things are positioned. So this is interesting for the collection, in the sense that, is it going to stop the bleeding here? I don't think so, but we'll be watching.
Dude, this guy's portfolio is insane. Apart from the multiple hundreds of ETH he spent on desperate ape wives, like the amount of apes and punks, like in Grail ones that he has in here too, other deeds, it is quite the collection.
Yes.
Do we? This is we don't know who this is, correct? Some people speculated that it was Elon, but I don't think it is.
Right.
He was the one that bought the lot of them at, was it Sotheby's or whatever, and then Elon put that as his profile picture and said,
right,
kind of fungible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but always fun to kind of look through these whales. Nice Pepsi mic drop in there. Whatever happened with that one? There we go.
Don't go look.
Don't go looking. This is a trip down memory lane here, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man, Prime Ape Planet, nice. Remember those?
Everything to zero.
What else? Anything else we want to talk about? William Shatner likes the NFTs, coming out hot with the gaming NFTs.
Yes, good stuff. We talked about it briefly on Terrestrial Thursday yesterday, and what stood out to me wasn't another celebrity pushing NFTs. It was the authenticity reeking from his statements, whereas a random Twitter user replied to him, "Oh, you're done with your other scams, so you're getting into NFTs now," of course implying that NFTs are a scam. He retorted with, "Well, you've been paying a monthly fee for how many years? You can't take your assets with you to another game or trade them freely. Who's the one getting scammed?" And it's like, wow, that's what we would say to a gamer who was skeptical of what we do here. And William Shatner, who is on the older side, you would naturally think maybe technology averse. No, he understands NFTs, and not just NFTs, the niche within NFTs of Web3 gaming. He gets it. And he is a widely followed account that is getting out the good word.
Yeah, it was. He was really going to bat for them too, and like you said, just responding to anybody that was taking him on, but he kind of really smacked that one down. And this is the tweet here. I do find it funny you play computer games where you pay a monthly fee and are not able to take any of the items you earn or find with you to another game or sell them to other players, but you find NFTs are a scam with the eye rolly emoji. Bill Shatner, Captain Kirk, putting in some work there for sure. I'm all right with him. And here's the thing: like, are there people that don't like William Shatner?
Yeah, anybody who's ever worked with him.
Oh, is that true?
From
Okay.
all the behind the scenes stuff I've seen, he's a grumpy guy who likes to get his way. And again, these are secondhand reports, but William Shatner is not beloved as one would think, though.
Okay,
we certainly don't mind that he is at bat for us here.
This is a funny one. Games don't allow the trading between players. The in-game shops acts as the exchange where the gaming companies set prices for buying and selling. They are the overlords of the system, and NFTs cause a paradigm shift that flips the power to the players. We've been saying that for a long time. That probably scares them. We've been saying that for a long time too. I love this response. No, William, it does not. Saying that means you don't actually understand what an NFT is or how the internet functions. Please, as a fellow Canadian, I am begging you, stop. I love how like they bring like being a Canadian into this too. Like it's some kind of club, like you're making us look bad. But also like this is like one of the most confidently incorrect statements I've seen. Like you clearly don't know what an NFT is. I'm like, no, that's exactly what it is. Like what is the issue here?
Yeah, I wonder.
It really just goes to show how misled and how much misinformation there is amongst that mob that hates it. And most of my experience with individuals wanting to talk about it, you can get them there. But when it comes to facing the mob, man, they are just.
Could you reply to him? I'm trying to figure it out. ... What is an NFT?
To him?
Yeah.
I think William Shatner did already. He said NFTs on the internet. Who actually doesn't understand what an NFT is here? Let's look at some of the.
I want that guy's explanation to me of what an NFT is. That's what I need. I need that gentleman.
Oh, it's just too easy to say that and then just disappear into the ether.
No. I don't think he. I think he has a well thought out script in his head, but no one was coy enough to say so. Okay, sir, I would actually like to know. I'm with you. What is an NFT?
Yeah. Maybe I'll tweet at him. You won't get a response.
Well, it's not a waste of energy if you use Solana. Solana is a very environmentally friendly chain. And I'll tell you, if price is bad for the environment, boy, that may be the best chain out there.
Solana, down bad.
Down bad. FMC, very long.
Oh, I don't think now this is a bad spot to be long.
I'm not sure. I just know
if you're long on the entire market, then like I think Solana comes up with it.
I just today, well, it was not today. It was actually yesterday. I started to go, these coins better start moving soon. I'm getting an uneasy feeling.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Just, come on,
that's
guys.
Star Wars, not Star Trek.
Yeah, let's all hold hands and rally 100% together. How about that?
Start one of those. Let's all agree to buy $100 worth every day for the next month.
Well, did you see this chain of like 3 incredibly wealthy people pledging to buy 1 Bitcoin a day for the next year or something like that? I was like, great. I'm sure your 750 Bitcoin, the two of you have agreed to buy every day is going to balance out any sell pressure we experience.
I did see that El Salvador committed to doing that. So tack on another 365.
There you go. So now 1,500 Bitcoin are guaranteed to be purchased next year. Let's see if that prevents any outflows into fiat.
I cannot join that pledge.
I will not join that pledge. I cannot, will not, say not.
If you can afford to, it doesn't actually seem like a bad idea, but that's a lot of money. Like, I wouldn't recommend that if it's all your money.
Thank you.
What do you got going on this weekend?
I didn't even know it was the weekend.
It's Friday, man. Friday.
Mm-hmm. Well, since I didn't know it was the weekend, I naturally do not have any specific plans for it.
All right. Same though. Cool, man. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I sent you Elon's latest tweet.
Did you? Oh, did I not pull it up? Oh, I didn't see this. Okay, hold on.
Gotta fire up the old printing press again. one extra page wasn't put in.
Is this cannabis growing in the Himalayas?
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Show that picture to the audience, guys. Look at this.
Just
remember, no matter what's happening in crypto, there is beauty in the world. This is a natural patch in the Himalayas, as far as the eye could see.
Who this?
No.
Beauty on Earth?
That's not it.
Well, that was the... Oh, this was the Elon tweet you sent me. Why does it say it's unavailable? There we go. I thought it was that picture. I didn't look. Sometimes it doesn't load in properly. FTX losing over $1 billion of client funds. So, yeah. Elon shit posting his way to the top. I mean, it's working.
I think the real alpha drop there is that Elon has the inside info, and it's only about $1 billion short. And when that news comes out, coins are gonna move.
Nah, Elon doesn't know anything in there.
He knows it.
Although I guess he probably would.
Doubt Elon. There we go. All right, everybody, just open this picture wide. I want everyone.
Is this drugs?
Is
this drugs?
Yes, that's drugs.
Fuck.
This is a spot in the Himalayan mountains where they make a very specific type of hashish. A type of hashish called charas. Now, charas are traditionally made by hand harvesting the trichome. So you walk around to live plants that have buds that have flowered and have the resin on them. You take your hands and you rub it very lightly. Now, this is traditionally done by the women of the village because they tend to have drier hands, and you do not want your moist, oily hands interfering with the hash production. Obviously, this is not how any hash here in the United States would be made, as there would be issues with the medical board about selling you hand-harvested hash. But charas, if you're ever in Nepal or in India, check it out. It's the first live resin because the resin is harvested off the plant while it's still alive versus a lot of resin which tends to be harvested after you chop the plant down. Now, modern methods tend to freeze the plant immediately, so you're basically getting live resin, but this has been done for thousands of years, and you can go check out YouTube videos and see people actually harvesting the charas. Their hands look like they're covered in soot or some sort of black resin. They do this all day, and then by the end of the day, they can roll a really large chunk of hash off their hands, and good stuff.
I like my edibles.
They
had one last night. A little gummy. Good to go. A nice little sleep.
Good stuff.
All right, man. I gotta bounce. Anything else you want to talk about? We're good?
No.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 166 of the AM show. It's Friday, which means we will be back on Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, as usual. Hit the like button. It's recorded. If you missed anything, go check it out. Blah, 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 blah. Love you guys. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I hope it's full of joy and happiness and coins going up. We will see and review on Monday. Free market. Always a pleasure. You have yourself a great weekend as well.
Yes. Good luck at the table, you degenerates.